Thank you for the introduction, Sharma. So let me introduce our first speaker, Tarun. First of all, congratulations for winning the chance to present for this open conference. So Tarun is a product enthusiast and an avid reader. He loves building products, and his mission is to build products uh, that people never used before and wonder how they live without them. He carries with him 11 plus years of experience in product management and consulting. When he's not building products, he spends time reading and researching about companies for equity investment. He is an Ecologia Shikshya of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. So please welcome Tarun for his session.
Absolutely. Thank you, Narottam, for such a wonderful introduction. Let me quickly present my screen and then I'll share so that people can see my deck. Just give me a second. Narottam, can you help me if you can see my deck? And that's in the presentation mode,
Yes,
which says 7 ways to solve chicken and problem.
yes.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Thanks for that warm welcome and a nice introduction. As Narottam introduced me, this is Tarun. I'm a product manager at RealPage, and I don't really want to waste time introducing myself again. So let me directly get started. And I would really want to make this conversation quite interactive. So I have a small poll up on Slido. So if you could quickly scan the QR code, or Shema, if you can help me with the link on the chat window, if someone really wants to use the link, so that they can get to the slido.com, and we'll make this kind of conversation interactive as well.
Yes, sir, we'll post the link right away.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, let's get started. This particular session, I'm really going to talk about 7 ways to kind of solve chicken and egg problem for platform businesses. And before we really get into the details of that, let's try to understand a real pulse check with the audiences. So I'm starting off the poll, and before that, let me please go through these companies and see what is that really common among these. If you before I really go to Slido and start the poll, if you want, you could kind of grab a screenshot of this so that you can revisit these organizations as well. And then I have a question up for there on the Slido. I'll give a minute for people to kind of grab a snapshot. All right, and getting onto the Slido, and I'm starting off the poll. So while people kind of get here, if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube, you could probably go to slido.com and give that code PLF-Tarun. That would help you get onto the poll on slido.com. Let me give a while the people join in. Okay, I see people coming in and say innovators, product-based companies. Yes, absolutely. So what else do you think about these companies? You see Facebook, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Alibaba, Tencent, Alphabet, which is Google's parent, and TSMC, which is Taiwan Semiconductors, and Saudi Aramco. What do you think about these organizations? Yes, it's mostly going towards product-based companies, and innovation is other thing, enterprise, profitable, absolutely. Yes, but most of them are getting inclined towards product-based companies, absolutely. Okay, take a shot. Who are okay? I see a few more people joining in. Out of the box, absolutely. Right. So, interest of time, let me end this poll here. Most of you are inclining towards product-based companies, absolutely. So, these companies are product-based companies, but if there is a topmost common thing among all of these are world's top 10 companies by market cap, which means they are most valuable companies in this planet. So, having said that, there's another common theme, which is as most of you said, they are product-based companies, and there's another theme, which is at least 7 to 8 of these are platform businesses. So such a investor interest in platform businesses, because as you see, 7 or 8 companies in top 10 being platform businesses, meaning these are kind of darlings for the investors. And not just at the top, but if you see currently in India, 75% of unicorn businesses, meaning the ones who are 1 billion plus in valuation, are also platform businesses. So why do you think there is so much interest? We'll try to understand that in a while. But even before that, let's try to understand what is a platform business. So by definition, platform businesses are the ones which facilitate exchange of value between two or more parties, and mostly these are producers and consumers. So yeah, that's a good definition. Probably no big deal for any of you spending that time here. So let me move on to see. Let's look at some examples which will kind of help us understand these better. I'll try to bring up a company here, and then you let me know what do you think about that company, if that's a platform business or not. Let's see. The first one is Netflix. So what do you think about Netflix? Please go back to Slido and let me know what you think. Let me run a poll on that. Yeah, as you see, what do you think about Netflix? Is that a platform business or not? If you're not sure, you could go for the third option as well. And I'll give a moment for people to take this poll, and then we'll kind of talk about the results. Yep. Go for that. Take a shot. I'll take Q&A as well at the end of this session. Okay, awesome. Let's see. Let's look at the results. In the interest of time, let me quickly move on and see the results for this. Okay, about 73% of the audience here are saying that Netflix is a platform business. So let me talk about that. That's an interesting answer. So going by definition, platform business is something that would have to facilitate a value exchange. But then Netflix is kind of a typical distributor wherein it licenses the content from the producers. Yes, certain times it produces as well, and most of the cases it licenses the content from the producers. And then they found out an innovative way of giving that on demand at customer and the user location on demand. So though it is available on demand for the users, but then it is traditional in a sense that it would have to pay for its licenses. So it is not just facilitating the exchange, but it is in fact being a part of the value exchange as well as one of the distributor in between the producer and the consumer. So by definition, that's not a platform business, but definitely it's a great business. We could have another session talk about that great business as well. But for now, let me move on. Next one, Apple iTunes. What do you think about Apple iTunes? Is that a platform business or not? Again, I request you to go back to the Slido and let me know what you think. Quickly going on to and starting the next question. So go ahead, take the poll. Let's see what audience think about Apple iTunes. While I give a moment for everyone else to kind of answer this, we are getting closer. Maybe a few more folks, and then I'll end this question as well. All right, let's take it there. Okay, so 80% of people are saying yes, Apple iTunes is a platform business. That's also an interesting answer. And let's see what it is. Yes, indeed, that's a platform business because Apple doesn't really license the content. It brings together the composers and the consumers. You and me as a composer as well can kind of create music and then put it onto iTunes and sell it and distribute it to the millions of customers of Apple. So that's a perfect platform example, and great that many of you think that as well. Very interesting set of audience. So let me look at the next example real quickly, and we'll move on from here. What do you think about Windows 10? Go back to Slido again, and please help me with what you think about Windows 10. Yeah, go for that real quickly, and I'll not keep this going forever. This is the last one, and then we can have rest of the conversations going on in the chat. All right, most of you did come out, and that's an interesting one. 44% each for yes and no. Right. So let me talk about that. That's also an interesting outcome. So most of you are, I mean, it's almost 50-50 between whoever had made a decision. And uh, yes, Windows 10 is a platform business because it kind of brings together the developers, like any application developers, and kind of the consumers of that into one platform, which is the operating system, and then it facilitates the value exchange, and then that's how it creates value as well. So that's a perfect example of a platform business. And now that we understand what are platform businesses and what are not, let's try to see why there is so much investor interest again. Um, Let me move on. So uh, this is one of my favorite images. That's a castle, and going back to Warren Buffett's quote, investors love businesses which are having deep moats that get deeper by the day. So uh, going by that, let's try to understand what are those modes that each of these platform businesses have. They are asset light first thing, which means looking at Netflix example again, it will kind of purchase or rather license the content, which isn't asset light. I mean, the major expense for Netflix is content licensing. So versus the Apple iTunes, which it doesn't really license the content. What happens is people put it there, and whenever there is a sale that happens, Apple takes a cut and then pass on rest of it to the actual composer. So that's the reason platform businesses are asset light. Second thing is the marginal cost of them is quite low, meaning let's take an example of Uber in this particular case, who Uber actually brings once there is a driver and there is a rider, what is the cost for Uber to conduct or have that one additional ride between these two? That it's almost zero, right? I mean, rider just books that on the app, and driver just honors that, and the marginal cost of really taking that revenue is almost zero. So that's the reason platform businesses are having that mode in that way. And the next thing is network effects. So in broad, again, I would say positive network effects, because adding one particular market participant or a platform participant not just increases the value by that one participant, but it increases the value to the entire network exponentially. Let's look at that with some examples, and let me try to get into the details of what network effects are. And I don't see any other way to start the conversation of a network effect without talking about telephones or mobile phones for that matter. So imagine if you are the only one kind of having a mobile phone or a telephone, what is the value in it for you? You can't really talk to yourself. So there's absolutely no value. But the moment your family or your friends, your colleagues starts joining the network, that's when you see value, because every addition is kind of increasing the value exponentially, but not just linearly. So that's the reason network effects, and these are called as the direct network effects, and they are great to have. And next thing is, let's talk about Uber in the next case, wherein say adding I mean, more users kind of brings in the drivers that will kind of increase the geographical coverage, and then that will kind of reduce the cost and improves the experience, and then attracts more users. So this is a cycle again that goes through. Users brings drivers, and then that would in turn bring users, and this is called as cross-sided network effects or indirect network effects. And let's look at the next example of network effects, which is, say, in this particular example, LinkedIn. Say a more professionals adding in would kind of make more connections among the professionals, and also bring in more recruiters or companies, and that kind of increases the number of jobs, and attracts more professionals, and that continues. So here it is a multi-sided network effect, wherein more professional connections brings more professionals, and that brings recruiters, and then again the chain goes on. So this is called as multi-sided network effects. And if that's the case, then why I mean, every business that tries to be a platform would have to succeed, right? Why are they not really able to succeed? So let's look at some examples. There's this social network called Color Labs, which is a massive $41 million failure as an investment. And not there are certain marquee names that kind of invested in it. And the promise of this particular social network was to use its network elasticity and use fancy technology that would kind of fix what Facebook was not doing is the promise that this particular company had initially, the CEO of this company had initially. But then it could not really take off because it never attained that critical mass of both sides of the network being available at the time when it is needed. So it's really important for a platform business to succeed to really be able to nurture and get to a point, critical mass, if you can call it that way, for all the sides of the platform participants so that it succeeds. And that brings me to the topic of how do we go about solving that chicken and egg problem, if I can call it that way. Now, and in this session, let's look at it about 7 different ways. I mean, there would definitely be much more, but then these are most prominently that stood out to me. Let's look at them real quick. So first one is making large investments. This is especially true when a particular platform participant would have to come up with a large investment at the start of it. And if the switching costs are too high for them, a great example is how Microsoft did Xbox, wherein the game developers would really have to invest upfront in developing the games, and if they really have to go to a different platform as well, then that would mean they would have to again invest much more to build on that the other platform as well. So let's start with the first question. Do people always act early? Narottam, can okay, yeah, I think that's good. So that's about Xbox, wherein so Microsoft, just to make sure that all the game developers are having enough comfort in getting onto this particular platform, they spent $500 million in marketing as well as investing into these game developers so that they get comfort and know that this platform is not going anywhere for quite long now. So that's one way. Moving on, second way is kind of cooperate with the industry incumbents and form standards as such. Best example here is Android, where Google kind of when iPhone was introduced by Apple, just not to lose on that particular battle, Google kind of cooperated with the handset manufacturers, the network providers like Verizon and others, and kind of formed an open handset alliance. So what that did is helped Google, Android to achieve that market share. And the best time to use this is when the industry is very fragmented. And if you need a lot of cooperation between a lot of parties, then you can be that center trying to formulate the standards and bring everyone onto one page. So that's one strategy. Moving on. Next one is act as a producer. This is quite relevant for most of the platform businesses. Take the example of Uber again. And in the initial days, it kind of paid its drivers to wait and until someone really books a cab. So that works perfectly until critical mass is attained, and then that brought in enough customers, which again brought in enough riders, and then it started growing faster. And similar strategy is also used by Amazon. Initial days, it was the only seller, and then it slowly added all the other sellers as well. And even Apple, in fact, with its iPhone, it provided certain utilities on the phone like mail, browser, and notes and all the other stuff, as well as tied up with certain other, say, media houses to kind of come up with apps before launching iPhone. So that's one way of doing that, acting as a producer. Next one is, this is, I believe, is a very creative one, wherein you kind of tap into an existing network to get one side of it done. And the great example of this is Airbnb. In the initial days, to get enough homeowners onto its platform, what it did is tapped into Craigslist where the homeowners are already listing their homes for rentals, short-term rentals on Craigslist. So they found a way to kind of get that data into this particular platform. But that was easy then. It may not be easy now because every other organization has kind of woke up to this, and Craigslist now have a strict policy wherein it cannot really allow any other participant to get that data onto their websites. So everyone is cognizant about the fact, but then there could still be options wherein, say, for example, you could look at beyond digital. Say, if you're kind of building a platform for a particular segment, you could see if there are any trade unions or trade shows happening for that, and go meet people and see what's happening. And then if there could be incremental value that you provide over the physical brick and mortar one onto a digital one, then they could lie an opportunity around it. So that's a very creative one, but may not be successful every time. And next one is attracting kind of celebrity users. I would say, again, best example here is Twitter, wherein the celebrities on Twitter get additional product features like a verified badge, as well as certain direct messages are only available from verified users. Not everyone can really reach out to them, and stuff like that, which will kind of help attract them. And they in turn will kind of attract the larger audiences. So, one other great example is Yelp, which is kind of reviews and kind of a website that gives reviews of local businesses. And Yelp has this elite spot, which shows up as a badge on that particular user, whoever is contributing greatly to the review as well as the user engagement. And they also have monetary benefits, wherein they get access to certain private events and parties and other stuff. So that's great way of kind of adding the pride as well as giving certain monetary benefits to a specific celebrity sort of users, who in turn would kind of contribute the right content or attract right audiences. So that's another way. And let's look at the next one, which is
quickly wrap it up.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll take 2 more minutes. And then target a specific user base, which is kind of acting as both. The best example here is for the social medium, any kind of social site. Say, for example, YouTube started off concentrating on the video uploaders, who would also be the video consumers. And the other great industry for this is any form of art consumption, say handmade goods or paintings. The people who really make those are the ones who also consume those. So if that's the industry you are in, then this is the right strategy for you. And moving on, then the last way, and this is the one probably is most relevant for all of us, is providing utilities. And this holds good for probably all the SaaS businesses, and we at RealPage also already have a network of property management companies that we cater to. So we found an opportunity wherein we could map these property management companies to small vendors and kind of exchange value between these two, and trying to build a platform business around it. And a great example for that is the Open Table, or maybe something similar to Dine Out here in India, wherein the first way of capturing restaurants is by providing them restaurant management systems, and then building the reservation and including the diners dynamics in there. So yeah, that's about 7 different ways to solving chicken and egg problem. And let me leave you with some food for thought. Will this be enough? I mean, if we solve a chicken and egg problem for platform businesses, will that be enough for success of a platform business? Absolutely no, because there are a lot of other challenges. You would have to govern the platform in the right way and only attract right users, the way Facebook did. It kind of brought in initially the educational institutes with a valid email ID, and then regulated it well. That's how it won over MySpace and Friendster, who are actually much bigger than Facebook even before them. So all that would be part of another session, or much more sessions. And I would just want to leave you with those thoughts. And if you are interested in this particular subject, and if you want to really research more, these are 3 great books that I recommend: Business of Platforms, Matchmakers, and modern monopolies, all these talk about the platform business models and different ways that you can solve different problems in that. And that's all from me. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can take any questions.
Okay, yeah. So Tarun, I have just one question that came up.
Sure. Absolutely.
Are these platform businesses and these techniques relevant only for the tech businesses?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, and I believe no, because say these platform businesses have actually existed for centuries now, and the best example is our say vegetable markets or the mandis of the world, wherein the vegetable sellers and the buyers go to one place, and that's a platform. So it's absolutely I mean platform businesses existed forever, and then all these techniques could absolutely be used for say mandis as well as even shopping malls for that matter. If you see, they kind of attract a particular kind of customers which will bring in the renter the businesses that will bring in more customer footfalls, and then that will kind of monetize on the other ones. So absolutely there are brick and mortar businesses which are platform businesses, and then these techniques could be used there as well. And
Thank
nice
you.
question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Tarun, for this wonderful insight on this chicken and egg problem. And as a token of appreciation, we would like to share you this small certificate from the Institute of Product Leadership. So
Absolutely.
thank you, and have a great
Thank you
day.
so much.